Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 11 of What If Naruto Was the Prince of Olympus. If you guys enjoy this what if, and want to see part 12 of it, comment down below and let me know. The like goal for this video is 200 likes. So like this video, to let me know that you're interested in this series, and you want the next part. Check out my new videos of My Hero Academia what ifs in my second channel, and give it some love as well. Link is in the description. And go ahead, and check out other what ifs in the channel. Before we start, please do support for more awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So let's start this video. 30 minutes 24 seconds. Naruto smiled and stopped the stopwatch he was holding by pushing the button at the side. "That's a new record, Aphrodite," he said brightly to the goddess of love who was lying on the ground, breathing hard with sweats covered her entire body. 2 days had passed since Aphrodite's first training. Naruto literally pushed her through hell with his extreme training method. Apparently he didn't think much about her words, which was, she was a lover not a fighter. He pushed Aphrodite to the limit of her godly strength, and then more, doing feats that were impossible even for the highest caliber shinobi, even Naruto himself. Other than Mount Maiboku, the two of them took the Central Park on Olympus as their training ground, and Naruto makes sure not to let anyone see Aphrodite train. He wanted to make this a surprise to the other members of his big family. Training her like this, Naruto could finally get a good look at what goddess like her capable of. Because Aphrodite never used her godly strength for anything extreme for more than 3,000 years, she became weak, and seemingly physically weaker than the weaker goddesses. But overall, Aphrodite could handle at least 10 on her shoulder, like Artemis, who was only pissed off after being sat on by a gigantic toad after he fell down from above, getting no injure than pride injure. This feat was more or less normal. Aphrodite was a goddess, but in terms of power she could be even more than the other Olympians, because she was born from Uranus himself. From what he read, Atlas, a titan, could hold the entire sky on his shoulder, so Tengamakichi might not be Aphrodite's limit. Right now, he was working on Aphrodite's stamina. By having his brother created special bracelets and anklets that could contain endlessly amount of weights to make a godly version of Rock Lee's method of training. Naruto put 4 of them on Aphrodite's body, and each was holding at least the amount of weight inside them that even in Senimoto, Naruto would have problem carry. For gods, this was an ultimate test of stamina. Naruto was wearing his forehead protector on his head, and dared Aphrodite to touch it, even just slightly. "I will let you kiss me, if you can touch my forehead protector." That was his promise to her, and to say the goddess was extremely fired up was a huge understatement. However, no matter how she tried, Naruto was impossible to catch, let alone touch his forehead protector. The goddess of love doubted even without the weights on her arms and legs, she would be able to make it before her stamina finally ran out. Naruto wasn't only fast, but he could also foresee all of her attempts to touch the metal plate he wore in front of his forehead, allowing the prince to toy with her, taking this matter very lightly. Of course, all knew Naruto would agree that he was a man of his words. He would only promise something like that to the goddess of lust, after he was 100% sure she wouldn't be able to touch it, even slightly. "Please stay still," Aphrodite groaned out tiredly as she let Naruto pull her up to her feet. "Sorry, no can do, Aphrodite," he said. "This is also a part of your training." "Seriously?" the goddess asked. "But it is impossible," she cried. "Nothing is impossible. You will have to figure it out a way to touch this." Naruto pointed to his forehead protector and smiled. "And in order to figure it out a way, you will have to grow stronger. Now you have a goal to archive. I'm sure you will able to do it. Sooner or later, I will get that kiss," Aphrodite said strongly, pointing her hand at him. "You wait for it." "Oh ho, keep talking." Naruto smirked before helping Aphrodite remove the bracelets and anklets around her wrists and ankles. "So, what are we going to do now?" She then leaned forward and pressing her large breasts against his arms, holding back only by a sport bra. "You want to hang out with me for the rest of the day." She tried to wrap her arms around his strong arm, but Naruto quickly removed himself from her, saying, "Not so fast, girl. We'll get to the next part of your training." "Aw, can we just do something else?" Aphrodite pouted. "Artemis is starting to adapt to my fighting style, which is not a good thing for you," Naruto said. It was the truth. In 2 days the goddess of the moon made huge progress in adapting to the way shinobi fight in a battle. After the embarrassingly humiliation, Artemis became sharper, more caution, and especially came up with a way to resolve his tricks every time he pulled one of them. While he was still sticking to Senimoto, while training with her, with this speed of improving soon he would have to use the stronger form to handle Artemis, and Bijumoto would be overwhelmed, and each attack could seriously hurt Artemis, if he is not careful. But still, everything would be different, if he began to use her Sengen. "You're the one who pulled me into this," Aphrodite cried with her arms crossed underneath her chest. "Dud, it is good for you, you know," Naruto said blankly. "Alright, that's enough for today, you can leave now." "Thank you," Aphrodite cried out happily, and wrapped her arms around his neck in a tight hug. Naruto was surprised at first, but he patted her on her back nonetheless. Even though the training was harsh, and almost impossible for someone who didn't want to fight like Aphrodite, she did try her best in trainings, and didn't try to run away and hide from him a single time. Aphrodite let go of Naruto and teleported away, returning to her duty as the goddess of love and beauty, while her body was as sore as hell. But she couldn't help but admit that it was quite fun doing something like this. Naruto was walking toward the big house, when he suddenly saw something interesting on the sky. Pegasus, a pure white Pegasus, was flying on the sky, with a camper sitting on its back. This wasn't the first time Naruto saw one of them, but no matter how many times he did, he could never stop the feeling of amazement swell up inside of him. They look delicious. By the way, Kurama chuckled darkly inside of his head. Knock it off, Kurama. They're not foods. Naruto chuckled and turned on his heel, making his way over to the stables. He could fly with his Rikido Sennin form, but Naruto wanted to find out what it would feel like to ride on a flying creature. Plus the sky was his father's domain. Maybe it was the time to try it out. The stables were made of wood that was white in color. It also had a mix of brick and stone, but everything looked a little bit old. There were a lot of hay and vegetables lying orderly over the place, brought to the place by the children of Demeter. He heard that some of the children of Aphrodite lent some help in taking care of the stables and Pegasus, so the place was a lot cleaner than most stable had seen. There were many Pegasus standing inside and Naruto couldn't help but think how beautiful there. The Pegasus got various kind of colors from white, brown to gray. Their wing folded up on their sides just like that of a bird, silently enjoying the jay and vegetables the campers brought to them. Hold, when Naruto was about to approach one of them, he heard a shout and the white Pegasus he saw before flew down and landed gratefully on the ground outside the stables, running for a few meters to slow down before finally stop. Good girl, the camper who was riding the Pegasus said, while patting it neck gently. Selena Borgard got down to the ground and gently led the white Pegasus into her stable, but stopped when she saw Naruto standing there looking at her with curiosity. Of course, having someone like the Prince of Olympus looking at her like that, being the daughter of love, she couldn't help but blush a little. Hey Selena. Naruto was the one who broke the silence between them by smiling at Selena, the head counselor of Cabin 10. Nice ride. Thank you. Selena smiled. Naruto smiled at her. Selena Borgard, as far as he knew, was hailed at Camp Half-Blood's hottest girl. Naruto would be blind if he couldn't see why she earned that title. Selena was one of the only girl among Cabin 10 inherited the curves of Aphrodite's true appearance. She looked like a carbon copy of her mother, with the only exception for her black-haired and brown eyes. Selena must be one of the most beautiful girl he had ever seen in his life. However, no sooner than he thought that, the color of her hair and eyes changed, become blonde and blue like her mother. With another blink everything turned back to normal. Could you stop doing that? Naruto asked, slightly amused by this kind of ability that changed the color power. Oh, sorry. Selena gasped lightly. Every demigod has ADHD, but I was also blessed with one of my mother's powers as well. It is the power to change my physical appearance as well, but like with ADHD, I can't control it, she said apologetically. The mist will make the mortal and demigods see only one color, but because you're a clear-sighted mortal, I will see your hair and eyes changed rapidly. Selena nodded. Right now she had black hair and dark purple eyes, and it seemed to stay that way. So, what brought the Prince of Olympus to this sturdy stable? Selena asked, walking past him and led the white Pegasus into her stable. I was thinking about testing my luck with flying, he said, following Selena inside. I heard that you're an expert rider, right? Selena was the one in charge of teaching new campers like Percy how to ride a Pegasus properly. She was by far the best Pegasus rider in the camp. Everyone said the same thing. Selena smiled, but I think it is because I can understand them better than anyone. That's all. She smiled. If you want, I can show you a few tricks. Really? I don't want to bother you. He trailed off, but Selena already grabbed his hand and pulled him to the back of the stable. I think he will suit you, Naruto. And Selena stood in front of yet another beautiful white Pegasus, but this one was a little bigger than the one Selena rode on. The creature looked at Naruto for a moment with its big black eyes, before nudging him gently with its head. Naruto smiled and put his hand on the animal's head, patting the Pegasus gently. Hey buddy. I think he likes you, Selena said and put her hand on the horse's neck, running her hand on the beautiful white horsehair. What's his name? The prince asked, smiling at the beast. Peach. Naruto turned to look at Selena with an amused smile. What? He looked like a peach when he was younger. Oh yeah, Naruto chuckled lightly, before letting Selena opening the stable's gate, letting Naruto guide the Pegasus out. Almost instantly, the horse neighed loudly, raising its front hoof and flapping its wings, flapping it wildly. This of course shocked Naruto a little as he stepped back in caution. Getting kicked in the face by a Pegasus would be the last thing he would want right now. Hold. Selena stepped up and raised both of her arms, saying loudly to the winged horse, Easy boy, easy, she said comfortingly. Surprisingly, she calmed the overreacting horse down. The white Pegasus acted like a puppy dog under the hand of Aphrodite's beautiful daughter. What the hell just happened? Naruto asked, cautiously approaching the horse. I forgot to tell you that Peach is quite wilder than the other, and he doesn't like strangers, Selena said. I will pick another one for you. She started to guide Peach back to his stable, but Naruto stopped her. No, I want this one, he said firmly with a grin. Are you sure? Selena asked. Yeah, bring it on, Peach, Naruto said, challenging to the horse, and walked outside with Selena. Peach followed behind her closely. The road to get to Peach's back was a little harder than Naruto thought, as the horse didn't intend to stay still for him to climb onto. Whenever he was about to get on his back, Peach turned and shook his body, making Naruto fell down to the ground on his butt. This of course made Selena laugh. 10 minutes later, Naruto finally got on the beautiful white Pegasus' back, with his legs put on the spots in front of Peach's wings. You can hold on him here, Selena pointed to the horse's neck. Don't worry about it, girl. Naruto winked and gave her a thumb up. Peach might be a wild horse, but by the time he was able to get on his back, with his chakra trick he would never fall down. Because this is your first ride, you want me to help you out? Selena asked hopefully. Sure, why not? He smiled at her, and offered Selena his hand, which the girl took it, and let Naruto pull her onto Peach's back, right behind him. Naruto blushed a little at the feeling of her ample breasts pressed against his back, as Selena wrapped her arms around his waist and moved closer to him. Talking with her so casually and normal like that, Naruto almost forgot that this young lady was the daughter of Aphrodite. To say Naruto was surprised to see a child of the love goddess wasn't an airhead was an understatement. Selena seemed very nice and kind, very different from her siblings. She wore clothes stylishly, but unlike her sister she didn't have the 24 hours makeups on her face. Okay, let's start, shall we? Selena spoke up cheerily, and before Naruto could say anything, she nudged Peach's side gently. The Pegasus neighed loudly, raising both of his front hoofs up and shot forward, running on the ground for a few seconds before spreading his wings and took off. Holy! Naruto cried out excitedly. This is amazing. He shouted out, come on buddy, get higher. He said to the horse, and it only did just that. Looking around, Naruto couldn't help but feel amazed by the amazing view of the north shore of Long Island. While it might not be able to compare to Konoha or Mount Maiboku, it was still a sight to behold. Looking down, Naruto smiled when he saw Camp Half-Blood became smaller and smaller, with campers as small as ants doing activities below. This was by far the first time Naruto went on such a flight like this. Closing his eyes, Naruto let the wind strongly hit his face, yet he didn't feel uncomfortable by it at all. Sky was also his father's domain, so maybe it was the reason why he was feeling so refreshed, so calm like this. You handle him quite well, Selena shouted so he could hear her voice. You're a natural rider, you know. Sky is my father's domain, so I guess flying is only natural to me, he told her, smiling. Selena couldn't help but smile as well. This was the first time she hanged around with the Prince of Olympus, but she already really liked the way he interacted with everyone. Naruto was kind, caring, full of passion. He cared for her and her siblings while no one did, looking past the bad reputations of being the children of the goddess Aphrodite, and did everything he could in his power to help them improve, so that they could be respected like any other demigods. Selena couldn't help but admit that she was starting to have some feeling for this young man, who was hailed as the Prince of Olympus. It was so strange, only after a small amount of time getting to know Naruto, Selena started to like him more than she should. He's mine, don't touch him. Suddenly, her mother's words returned to her, and Selena's eyes became a little saddened by this. Of course, someday, sooner or later he would become a god. Seriously, relationship with other women other than goddesses was strictly forbidden by the ancient laws. So the chance for her, or any mortal girls who taken the interest in Naruto was very slim, if not wanted to say non-existent. She should have seen it coming when her mother told her to tell the girl about her plan for the prince. It would only hurt those who fall for him that wasn't immortal. Not that she thought Naruto would be like his father, and had tons of demigods after becoming a god himself, but being the daughter of love, she knew love was a very powerful thing. No one could control when they would feel in love. Becoming a god meant Naruto would get all the time in the world, and who knew, this decade or the decade after he would fall in love with a beautiful mortal woman, and had his first demigod. Selena closed her eyes, and rested her head against his back. For now, let's just stay like this, and she should also be careful with her own feeling. Hey Selena, Naruto called out when Peach did a break and started to return to the camp. Thank you. It's my pleasure in satisfying Lord Naruto, the Prince of Olympus, with the best of my ability, Selena said before slapping playfully on his back. When the blonde jerked his back, relax, I was just kidding. Haha, very funny, Naruto chuckled. Okay, lower down Peach, he told the Pegasus, and Peach lowered down a little. However, right at that moment, Naruto's instinct alerted him. But he didn't have any time to react. All he saw was a blur of silver. An arrow shot from the forest below, and the next moment, Peach neighed painfully when the arrow pierced through his right wing. Naruto widened his eyes in shock when the winged horse's body bucked powerfully. Naruto with his chakra could stick to his body no problem, but unfortunately the buck sent Selena off his back and to the air. No. Naruto screamed when he saw the girl fell down to the ground hopelessly with her eyes wide in shock. Peach was also falling, and Naruto knew he only got less than 5 seconds to save both of them. Naruto pulled out a kunai in a flash and threw it to Selena. He didn't aim her but the space beside the falling girl. Naruto then disappeared in a flash of yellow, bringing Peach with him to the inside of cabin 2. Peach crashed into the bed but quickly stood up, folding one of his wings, while the injured one was still spreading. Sorry mom, he didn't know if his mother liked having horse inside her cabin or not, but now wasn't the time for it. Naruto disappeared again in a flash of yellow. This time he reappeared next to Selena and grabbed her, wrapping his arms around her body protectively, shielding her from the tree they were falling onto, before quickly teleported into his mother's cabin at camp. Naruto fell down to the ground hard with Selena, perfectly okay in his arms. Blowing leaves out of his mouth, the blonde immediately sat up and looked at Selena, checking her to see if there was any injuries. "You okay, Selena?" The girl only nodded her head, still couldn't believe what just happened. Naruto sighed in relief and let the girl rest it against the wall, letting her take her time gathering herself together before walking to Peach. Hey, it alright, Naruto said to the Pegasus before grabbing the arrow from the underneath. Blood tainted the pure white color of his wing. "I have to pull this out," he told the horse, and pulled the arrow out instantly. Peach neighed loudly in pain, but Naruto quickly put his right hand on the wound, closing his eyes, and in just a matter of seconds, the white Pegasus's wing healed up. "You're fine now," Naruto smiled to the winged horse, and saw Selena walking toward him with a rather pale face from the near-death experience. "What happened, Naruto?" Selena asked nervously. "Someone attacked us," Naruto said simply, looking at the silver arrow in his hand. "Is that Lady Artemis's arrow?" Selena gasped in shock. There was only one group used silver arrow, and that was Artemis and her huntresses. "Yes, this is Artemis's arrow," Naruto nodded, "but this is also the same arrow she shot to my shoulder the same day Percy and his group left for the quest. Someone picked it up after I went to bid them a good luck." He remembered letting the arrow on the table, but when he returned it had disappeared. Artemis was very careful. If he did not want to say rather skimp with her special arrows, she always gathered them back after archery training, so he had thought there was some magic placed on them, so the arrows would return to her quiver, to help her do the gathering faster. There was only one person come to Naruto's mind. The lightning thief. "Boy, Caitlyn," Naruto shouted with his arm raised on the air, trying to catch up to the beautiful blonde, while pushing through the crowd of students in the hallway. Right after Naruto got to school, he went to find her. The both of them didn't have the same class today since Naruto only had classes in the afternoon on Monday. "Oh, hey Naruto," Caitlyn turned around and saw her friend, smiling brightly to him. "Good afternoon, how are you today?" "I'm good," Naruto grinned. This morning, he put Aphrodite's children through hell, forcing them to climb the magma wall without any personal protective equipment. The girl basically cried out in tears when a small part their pretty hair was burned, and the boy more or less tried to run away every time they accidentally touched the lava. Aphrodite was absolutely horrified by this, and she fainted right on the spot. "You seem to be in the good mood," Caitlyn said in amusement. "What happened?" "Nothing much. I play with a bunch of kids this morning," Naruto grinned. "Their mother fainted when I taught them how to climb the wall." No sooner than he said that, Caitlyn thrust her elbow into his rib. "Ouch, what? Teaching kids doing dangerous things like that? How irresponsible are you?" she asked in disbelief. Anyway, Naruto reached for his backpack and took out the Ring of Fighters film script. "Here you go. I'm done with this." Naruto gave it back to Caitlyn, who then looked at him in disbelief. "Seriously?" Caitlyn gasped in shock. "You only need 1 day to memorize this." "It took me a whole month to do so." "Well, what do you expect from a Harvard student?" Naruto asked, puffing his chest in pride. "Well, in truth, he created multi-copies of this film script, and created a lot of clones to speed up the memorizing process, so it only took him a few hours to memorize the entire film script. He made sure to destroy the copies though." "I guess." Caitlyn frowned and put the script into her back. "Caitlyn, how should I put this?" Naruto said uncomfortably while scratching his cheek, which became a little red due to embarrassment. "I found a scene in that script when the both of us, we both, doing that." "Oh, Caitlyn nodded, her cheeks dusted pink. "Sacrifice for art, I guess. I thought Ring of Fighter is all about fighting. Naruto isn't. I had to admit though, some scene is pretty badass, but do we have to that?" He scratched the back of his head while looking away, like, "We kiss and pretend to see, make love to each other." He nearly slipped, but chose the better words in this situation. "Yes, absolutely," Caitlyn pointed out. "This is also my first time, so I will have to try my best," Caitlyn said confidently, her voice full of determination, before beginning to panic. "But I don't have any experience in this kind of thing." Hey, relax. "Me too, Naruto told her. "At least, we only need to pretend, not do the real thing." "Not the kissing though," Caitlyn groaned. "Enough with that." Naruto understood Caitlyn's mood, immediately changed the topic. "Let's find my talkative self-proclaimed friend, and get to the next class." "Okay." The blonde nodded her head and followed Naruto with her cheeks pink, a soft smile on her face. "Your father is here, Miss Sharp." Caitlin dropped the folk she was holding right after she heard her bodyguard, John, said that after receiving a phone call. Naruto and Daniel, who was enjoying their lunch next to her, looked at their friend in surprise. Naruto could feel the sudden change in Caitlin's emotion at that moment. "Excuse me?" the blonde asked in surprise. "My father here?" "Yes." John nodded his head, "and he is waiting for you at Four Seasons Hotel." "Isn't that one of the best hotels here at Boston?" Naruto asked, looking at Daniel, who nodded his head rapidly. He knew the Caitlin family was rich, if not wanted to say super rich, but to book a room at one of the fanciest hotels of this city, just to meet her, was out of his imagination. Though, he was in no place to judge her family, since his parent was the king and queen of the gods, who, as far as he knew, sat on the throne made of pure gold. "Okay, tell him I will be there right away." Caitlin nodded her head to John and stood up, looking at Naruto and Daniel. "Sorry guys, but I don't think I can finish school with you today. I need to go now." "Okay Kate." Naruto nodded his head. Caitlin nodded her head to him, before walking away with a frown, with John following closely behind her. "What is that all about?" Naruto asked, and Daniel only shrugged his shoulder. "You know anything about Caitlin's father?" The sudden change of Caitlin's emotions, probably because of her father, so Naruto was very interested to find out why. "Well, as far as I know, Mr. Sharp is a very strict businessman who only aims for success, and of course he taught his children to do so too." Daniel said. "He started his company from the big zero, and became one of the richest men in the world with it. No one know how he was able to do that though. Rival companies tried to expose his past and hoped to find dirty businesses. However, like any attempts to dethrone him before, they found nothing." "You know a lot, don't you?" Naruto asked in amusement. "I don't know Naruto," Daniel said mockingly. "There is something called internet, and all you need to do is Google everything. It's very hard to understand," and he earned a hard slap at the back of his head. Caitlin climbed into the car waiting for her outside, and let John took her to the hotel. Her father, Charles Sharp, was here to see her. It had been 6 months since their last meeting, and it was clear to Caitlin that the reason he was here wasn't going to be a good thing. When she decided to step into the professional world of entertainment, her father was the one who highly against it, saying that she should stay at home and join his company as a businesswoman. If not for her brother, Carlos, who then started to show the qualities and a great mind for business of a great leader to their father, her father would never allow her to do whatever she wants like this. But Caitlin knew that he would never change his mind. Oh dear, Caitlin muttered when she saw the ones that were standing outside of the Four Seasons Hotel. Caitlin arrived at the hotel 10 minutes later, and, as soon as she stepped out of the car, almost instantly she was surrounded by a crowd of reporters who threw question after question to her. She didn't like reporters. They bothered her all the times, but it wasn't like she could do anything with it. John immediately came to the rescue by pushing through the reporters, making a line for Caitlin to walk through them. "Phew, thanks John," Caitlin said as soon as the hotel's door was closed behind her. John nodded his head. As soon as Caitlin turned back to the hotel, she was immediately assaulted by a handsome man in his mid-20s, with sandy blonde hair and blue eyes, an athletic build. The girl didn't even have time to squeal out in shock when her face was slammed into his chest, his arms wrapped around her in a bear hug. "Carlos." She immediately recognized her older brother as she was swung around by him. "My dear sister," Carlos said with laughter. "It's so good to see you again." Caitlin couldn't help but giggle as well. "Hey there, brother." The younger blonde returned to her, looking at her older brother with a soft smile on her face. "You came with father as well." "Of course, this is a great opportunity for our family to reunite, even if it will be just for a short amount of time," Carlos said as they stepped into the elevator. "Heart?" Caitlin asked. "Very," the man said as he ran his hand through his hair. "You're lucky, Caitlin. You have no idea how father worked my ass lately," he said. "I read the news," the girl said. "Something about father bought yet another corporation, right?" "Yeah." The elevator stopped at the 28th floor, and the door was opened for the Sharp sibling, as they stepped out and walked toward the last room of the hallway. "He's waiting for you inside," Carlos said, opening the door for his sister. "I will let you two alone for now." Caitlin nodded her head and walked in. Charles Sharp was a man in his middle age, yet still managed to keep his youthful appearance. He was tall, with short yellow hair and sharp blue eyes, a calm and collected expression on his face, as he stood in front of the window of the room and looked at the city outside. He was wearing a black business suit, hands in his pocket. "Good afternoon, father." Caitlin took off her bag and greeted her father politely. The man turned around and looked at his daughter. A small smile made it to his face. "Hello, Caitlin," he said, his arms opened a little. "You don't want to give your father a hug?" he asked, making Caitlin grin broadly, and ran to her father, wrapping his arms around his waist in a tight hug. "I miss you, father," she said as Charles wrapped his arms around his daughter and planted a soft kiss on the top of her head. "Me too, Caitlin," the man smiled and let go of her. "How are you, my daughter?" "I'm fine, what about you?" He nodded his head. The two sat down on the couch with Caitlin opposite from her father. Even though they had a heartwarming greeting, Caitlin couldn't help but feel a little nervous about this. "Why are you here, father?" Caitlin was the one who broke the silence between them. I will head straight to the point, Caitlin. I think it's time for you to stop playing around and grow up, he said calmly, looking at Caitlin with an unchanging expression. Excuse me? Caitlin asked, playing around. A tick mark appeared on her forehead. Yes, Caitlin, Charles nodded his head. The university sent me your results certificate. I study hard, Caitlin muttered. She knew that a results certificate was always one of the best. What is your point? My point is, you're wasting your talent in useless performance on stage, and on studio, Mr. Sharp said seriously, unlike you, your brother. This is what I want to do, Father. Caitlin cut him off, saying with the same serious tone, I don't care what Carlos did to the Shark Corporation, but all I care about now is giving my best on this stage. I don't think so, Mr. Sharp shook his head. You see the people down there? They're holding you back, Caitlin. He took out the leaflet of the Ring of Fighter, putting it on the table in front of them. Look at this, you're nothing but a showgirl to these people, Caitlin. Sharp Group aims to become the top of the world, and yet my daughter is downgraded herself to the level of an entertainer. What will your mother? Mother is not here, Caitlin said with her voice a little louder than usual. It was always the painful topic to her. I got nothing to say to you, Father. I made up my mind when I was even younger than this. Caitlin stood up from her seat, trying to be calm. I thank you for taking your time with me. See you later, Father. She bowed her head and walked out of the room, slamming the door shut behind her. Charles Sharp sighed. He knew that he shouldn't bring Caitlin's mother into this. But sooner or later, his daughter would accept that she could be better than that. Leaning back against the couch, Charles took out a newspaper and his cell phone from his back. Yes, I want you to find this person for me, he said into the phone. Yes, alright, thank you. He closed the line and looked at the newspaper with an unreadable expression on his face. Here you go, Naruto, Hephaestus said, and took the sword out of the bucket of water and put it on the table in front of Naruto. Thank bro. Naruto grinned and bumped his fist with his favorite older brother, and waited till the newly made sword to cool down before taking it into his hands. By the way, sorry for disturbing you. Nothing, this is just some trap. Hephaestus shook his head. He was working on some very small spiders that Athena and her children wouldn't like to see. His brother was definitely the best blacksmith in the world, or any worlds out there. The sword in his hand, made in just a few minutes, was a celestial bronze katana, with ornate bronze guard. The guard was an oval, and its Tsukaito seemed to be braided from white and black material. The blade also featured several intricate ornaments, and looked to be able to cut through steel. Naruto grabbed the hilt and made a swing. The sword was very balanced in his hand. You don't seem like someone who used sword as a weapon to me, Naruto, Hephaestus said. He made countless amounts of superpower weapons in his life, and developed a certain eyes to see which the best weapon was for his client. To him, Naruto was someone who preferred using his fist than a weapon, not that he was going to need them, since Naruto's physical strength alone could even match a god in a fight. Not to mention his more than destructive powers, called ninjutsu. This is not for me, Naruto said, grinning, and took the scabbard on the table, which was black and made of traditional lacquered wood. This is for Aphrodite. I heard that you're training her, Hephaestus said, nodding his head. After all, Aphrodite's palace was right next to him, so it wasn't hard to see the goddess of love. His former wife came back to house every day with Naruto, with plenty bruises on her body, looking absolutely tired. Damn, Naruto looked at his brother. Keep it a secret, okay? I want to surprise the other, especially our more violent brother. Some would say that it's particularly useless trying to do something like that, Hephaestus said blankly, returning to his work, strongly hammering the uncompleted double-edged sword on the anvil with his hammer. You will be surprised, bro, Naruto smiled, walking out of his brother's workplace. She might not be a born warrior, but she has the will and the determination to overcome everything, to prove everyone that she can to me. All of that is enough. Naruto exited the hot palace of his older brother, and walked to Aphrodite's palace with the sword in his hand, knocking on the door for a few times, before calling for her loudly. Aphrodite, time to training, he shouted. That's a minute, Naruto, Aphrodite shouted back, making Naruto look at the door curiously. Normally, if she didn't want to train that day, she would try to pretend to be not inside her palace, or faking a very tired voice. However, the way she replied today was kind of new to him. So Naruto focused some of his chakra into his ear to enchant his hearing. Where could a possibility be? He heard Aphrodite muttered, and he could feel that she was very worried. Aphrodite, is everything okay in there? He heard the sound of finger clicking, and the door automatically opened for Naruto. Shrugging his shoulders, Naruto walked into Aphrodite's palace. This wasn't the first time Naruto had the pleasure of walking into Aphrodite's palace. At first, he thought her house was like a bigger, fancier version of Cabin 10, a massive Barbie doll house which everything inside was pink and girlish. However, he was very surprised to find out that most of the color inside was blue and light purple. Like any Olympian's gods and goddesses, her palace was nothing but fancy and elegant. There was a queen-size bed at the other side of the room with white bed sheet and incredible soft pillow. God didn't need to sleep much, so Naruto knew exactly what that bed used for, but tried not to think about it. Beside the bed was Aphrodite's makeup table, featured various kind of makeup equipment like lipstick, makeup powder, perfume, eyeliner, and other. The room of her palace was the place she put all the kind of the clothes she found beautiful in the world. There were thousands or even millions of them inside. It was the biggest collection in the world, or any worlds out there. There was also a lot more rooms, but Naruto tried not to dig deeper into it. The palace also smelled exactly like her, making Naruto wonder just how many perfume bottles she used to make the place got the smell like that. Naruto looked at Aphrodite, who was running back and forth inside of her room with a worried expression on her face, like she was looking for something. "What wrong, Aphrodite?" Naruto asked, crossing his arms across his chest. "I lost one of my scarves," Aphrodite whined, her head perked up from underneath the bed. "Excuse me, but aren't we in the middle of summer? What do you need the scarf for?" Naruto asked, confused. "I made sure to take care of my collection every morning. This morning, I lost one of my scarf." Aphrodite stood up. "It's not here. Someone must stole it." She then came to the conclusion. "Come on, you got at least 1,000 scarves, right?" Naruto checked the clock. "We're late for training. Can you at least wait? That scarf is a special one. It is very dangerous." Naruto's eyes widened slightly at that. "It has the power to make others fall in love with the one who wear it," Aphrodite pointed out. "Like your girdle, right?" Naruto asked, glancing at the belt she hanged on top of her bed. It was Aphrodite's symbol of power. The object gave her the power to seduce any man she wants. Even Naruto didn't know if he was able to resist her if she decided to wear it. "Yes, but at a lesser degree." Aphrodite nodded. "It only affects mortal or half-mortal. But aren't gods forbidden to enter others' palace without their permission?" Aphrodite looked a little uncomfortable, and Naruto immediately knew the answer for his question. "Forget what I asked," Naruto added. "We to find it. If that thing fall into mortals' hands, there will only be trouble," Aphrodite said. "Someone must stole it." "But who?" Naruto looked around. This was the godly world he was talking about. The residents of this world could randomly appear at one place, and then disappear without a trace. Aphrodite then went into a state of thinking, with her finger put on her bottom lips. Naruto also crossed his arms across his chest, trying to think about who could be stupid enough to steal such a dangerous artifact from the goddess of love's possession, and also for what reason he really needed it. Someone who's stupid enough and seriously needed some loving from beautiful women but unable to do so after a curse was placed on him, after his lover broke up with him and did it as a punishment for threatening her. Then, at once, they shouted, "Ares, you cursed him, didn't you?" Naruto asked, recalling what Aphrodite told him a few days ago. Apparently, the goddess of love was angry at the slap and threat Ares gave her, so right after they broke up, Aphrodite placed a love curse on him, making sure that no women would fall in love with the god of war. It was one of the ultimate curses for someone who couldn't keep it in their pants, and couldn't find any love from mortal with that love curse. Yes, the ultimate cock-block curse. Aphrodite laughed sheepishly. "I placed it on him, and I'm the only one who can lift it," and she didn't intend to lift it at all, at least in a few million years. Threaten Aphrodite with her children's safety was the last straw for a loving mother like her. And now he stole that scarf, so that he would be able to sleep with mortal. Naruto growled. "Very funny. We have to find him," Aphrodite scolded. "This time, I will make sure to place some of my worst love curse for stealing from me. Let's go." Naruto motioned his head to the door. "I know just the one who can find him for us." Anti-Hestia. Naruto poked his head into the throne room. His hands was holding the massive door open with Aphrodite following behind him. The goddess of love had changed her clothes and was now wearing a frilled black shirt, denim jacket and a rather short skirt, with high-collar Converse sneakers. Overall she looked like your everyday teenager, only 1,000 times more beautiful and attractive. The goddess they were looking for was sitting at her usual spot beside the main hearth of Olympus, poking the fire with a long stick. "Good morning, Naruto." Aphrodite Hestia looked at them and smiled softly. "Going out today?" "You can say that." Aphrodite nodded her head rapidly. "Don't believe her," Naruto said, glaring at Aphrodite. He then winked at him cutely. "Auntie, can you help me? I have a favor too." He then saw the smile on her face. "You already know, aren't you?" "How can you do that anyway, Hestia?" Aphrodite asked in disbelief. She too was rather curious of the reason why the oldest child of Kronos was able to know everything. "That is a secret." Hestia smiled secretly at them. "So Naruto, Aphrodite, you two want to find Ares, am I right?" "Yes, to retrieve Aphrodite's scarf." Naruto nodded his head. "Do you know where he is?" the goddess of love asked. "Maybe." Both Naruto and Aphrodite face palmed at the kind goddess' answer. "Very funny, Auntie." Naruto chuckled sarcastically. "Hey, what kind of joke is that?" Aphrodite whined. "Sorry," Hestia giggled playfully, before turning back to the hearth. "Sorry, Naruto, but the ancient laws forbid me from revealing gods and goddess with the higher class than me. Aka the Olympians." Naruto groaned. "But I think it's time you lend the young some help." His eyes widened at her announcement. "What do you mean?" Aphrodite asked questionably, but she suddenly found Naruto's hand on her shoulder. Thank you, Auntie. I will treat you with ramen later. Naruto grinned broadly and disappeared in a flash of yellow, bringing Aphrodite with him. Water park. The main gate was padlocked and topped with barbed wire. Inside, huge dry water slides and tubes and pipes curled everywhere, leading to empty pools. Old tickets and advertisements fluttered around the asphalt. With night coming on, the place looked sad and creepy. Outside of the gate stood 3 teenagers. They were none other than Percy Jackson, Annabeth Chase, Grover Underwood, the 3 who went on the quest to find the lightning thief. Currently, they're having a conversation of old gossip. The fairies brings his girlfriend here for a date, Percy said, staring up at the barbed wire. I'd hate to see what she looks like. Percy. Annabeth warned with a dangerous tone, be more respectful. Why? I thought you hated Ares. Percy asked. He's still a god. And his girlfriend is very temperamental. You don't want to insult her looks, Grover added. Who is she? Echidna. Percy asked, wince. No, Aphrodite, Grover said, a little dreamily, goddess of love. I thought she was married to somebody, I said, Hephaestus. Yeah, but I heard from Cabin 10 that after Naruto showed up, Lady Aphrodite divorced with his brother and broke up with the other one. Annabeth nodded her head before going deep in thought, but he said he brought his girlfriend here. If it is not Lady Aphrodite, then did someone just mentioned about me? Naruto and Aphrodite appeared in a flash of yellow right beside the group of teenager. Percy and Grover's mouth, especially Grover's, dropped down to the ground in shock, with their eyes wide in shock at the presence of the goddess of beauty. Naruto didn't blame them at all, especially when they were looking at the most beautiful woman in their opinion, only 10 times greater than normal. Grover even had drool running down the corner of his mouth, typical satyr. Annabeth was stunned by this. Naruto, why are you here? She then turned to Aphrodite and bowed. Greeting Lady Aphrodite, she greeted respectfully and nudged the boys out of their dazed state to do the same like her. Hey boys, girl, she then winced. You think? She then got an idea. Here, lets me help, and clicked her finger. In a flash, all the dirtiness and the stinky smell disappeared from their body. Annabeth's tangled blonde hair strengthened instantly and looked well taken care of. All 3 got their clothes changed, with Annabeth to a more girlish version of the clothes she was wearing, with a rather short pink skirt. I thought you forbidden to help them in their quest? Naruto asked, looking at the love goddess. Oh sure, but I'm the goddess of beauty. It is my duty to make everything pretty, Aphrodite giggled. So of course, fixing these 3 fell into my duty. That's everything I could help them. Alright then, Naruto nodded with a smile before turning at her. By the way, never tried that power on me. I don't want to be dressed up by you. Oh, don't worry honey, you're already perfect with your look, she giggled. Whoa, Percy said in amazement, looking at his new clothes. Thanks, Lady Aphrodite. Grover nodded his head rapidly. It's my pleasure, boys, the love goddess said. Annabeth was looking rather uncomfortable with the skirt she was wearing. Man, you're a lot friendlier than Ares. Percy commented and immediately earned the 2 new arrivals' attention. Wait a minute, you 3 met Ares? Naruto asked in surprise. When? Just a few minutes ago. We're running a task for him, Annabeth said. He was on a date with his girlfriend, but for some reason he left, but forgot his shield in there. So he sent us to retrieve it back for him. She then looked at Aphrodite. I thought he was talking about you, Lady Aphrodite. Oh honey, we broke up long ago. Aphrodite waved her hand dismissively. I'm more interested in this boy. She leaned against Naruto, making him sigh. But why are you 2 here? Percy asked. Aphrodite's magical scarf was stolen, and we thought Ares was the one who stole it, Naruto explained. So you 3 come in there and get the shield. All 3 nodded. Good, continue your work. Meet me when you come out. He came over to the barbed wires and tore them apart, making a way to the quest. Alright, Annabeth nodded, and they walked in. Aren't you going to help them? Aphrodite asked curiously. No, those 3 can take care of themselves. Consider the fact that they're still alive after leaving camp, Naruto said. Let them take the shield for Ares. When he comes to take it back, we'll be there waiting for him, Naruto said with an evil smirk. Oh, I got it, Aphrodite giggled. Good, now bring your other fist to the left side of my face, Naruto said as he was standing in front of Aphrodite, holding her wrist, teaching her a few simple taijutsu move in slow motion, while waiting for the 3 to return. You think this is enough to beat Artemis? The goddess of beauty asked. You will have to try harder, Naruto said. Your physical strength is greater than hers, well as your power. But Artemis is very skill and experience. She will get you on the ground even before you realize it, he explained. So, as my practitioner, you're allowed to cheat. Excuse me. You're a student of a shinobi. Shinobi don't play fair. Naruto made a swat movement with his legs, bringing her down to the ground, but used his hand on her wrist to hold her, keeping Aphrodite a few inches from the ground, before pulling her up. I will see if I can. He then looked up. Oh, they are returning. Sure enough, looking up they saw the quest walking at them. Once again, they looked like a mess. Percy was holding a bronze shield, probably Ares' shield. What happened? Aphrodite asked, clicking her finger and pulled a little beauty charm, fixing the 3 immediately. He tricked us, Percy growled. Lord Hephaestus set up traps and camera in there. Annabeth stated, I think it is the reason why Ares had to leave. Oh yes, Hephaestus TV. Aphrodite nodded, making Naruto to look at her. What? I got a show on there too, you know. We also found your scarf, Lady Aphrodite Annabeth said, and pulled out a pink scarf, having an indescribable perfume, like rose or mountain laurel. So, Ares was the one who stole it after all. Oh my, thank you. Aphrodite looked very pleased, and took it from Annabeth, waving her hand up and down, casting some magic, before wrapping it around her neck. But we still need to talk to Ares. I got some curses to place on him, she growled. Can I have that, Percy? The son of Poseidon nodded and gave Naruto the shield. It was pretty heavy and large, probably to fit someone at the size of Ares. Let's go. They thrilled at Naruto to a chrome dinner. Ares was waiting for them the quest, to return with his shield at the dinner's parking lot. He could see the god of war sitting inside the restaurant looking very impatient. Naruto stepped ahead. About damn. When he heard footstep, Ares turned around and growled, but his eyes widened when he suddenly saw Naruto walking at him with the shield in his hand. You. Greeting fella. Naruto shouted and threw the shield right into Ares' face, so fast that the god of war couldn't see it coming, and fell off his bike. Damn, now I feel like I'm Captain America. He grinned and caught the shield, giving it to Percy. Naruto then pulled the sword in his hand out of its scabbard, walking toward Ares who holding his nose in pain. Naruto probably broke it, and now itcher was flowing down his face. He then put the blade at the side of his neck, looking down at Ares and grinned. Did mom teach you that stealing is bad? Naruto asked. No offense mom, he added, looking at the sky and heard it rumbled. Why are you here? Ares asked through a broken nose. My student was in trouble, so of course I lent her a hand. Naruto then looked at Aphrodite. Speaking of whom, Aphrodite. He called for the love goddess, who stepped forward and stomped her foot on Ares' stomach. That is for stealing my scarf, asshole, Aphrodite shouted angrily. With the training Naruto gave her, the force Aphrodite was using was literally too much for the war god to handle. I will kill you, if you try to steal my artifact from me again, got that? Dude, I will listen to her, Naruto said in amusement, and Ares nodded his head rapidly. Now as a punishment, I will hex you with a worse curse than the one you already have, Aphrodite then said coldly, and casted a few curses on Ares much to his shock. Looking at the war god right now, Naruto would rather not know about which were the curses Aphrodite was using, because Ares' face suddenly got ugly, even more ugly than their brother. I will hate to be the one who is at the receiving end of your wrath, Aphrodite, Naruto said as he and Aphrodite sat on top of a hill, looking at the beautiful sunset in front of them. Naruto couldn't help but wonder what it would feel like to be the one who drove the sun all day like Apollo. The three already continued their quest after saying goodbye to him and Aphrodite. He deserved it, the love goddess sitting next to him said. Well, you're right, Naruto, then looked at the sword lying on the ground next to him. He picked it up and gave it to the love goddess. Here, take it. What? Aphrodite stuttered. To fight Artemis you will need a weapon, Naruto smiled, so I asked Hephaestus to make you one, in my style. The love goddess took the katana, and looked at it in shock. Wow, Aphrodite said in amazement, pulling the sword out a little. This is probably the first sword in my life. What is it called? I haven't thought about a name for it yet, so you chose, Naruto grinned. Vinculum, the same words written in ancient Greek then appeared on the end of the blade. Bond, Naruto nodded and leaned back. Thank you, Naruto, Aphrodite whispered softly, looking at him, for doing so much for me. Nah, you deserve it, the blonde smiled. Little did he know that he was being photographed. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want a next part of this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification, and also check out the other videos that I have created, and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.